Welcome to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while compulsively reading and not whimsying Vegas weddings.
Gonna love what we love, do it out loud. Stack our shelves with the clinches out. Shout it from the rooftop, can you hear the sound? Yeah. Live your best life, love it out loud. Love it out loud.
Hey y'all, I'm Melody Carlisle, and I hope you're ready for a romance novel recap. Each week, my long-distance pal, who's an even more voracious romance reader than me, Sabrina Bradley, and I recap our most recent read for you. Sometimes we choose them out of the blue, but most times they're recommended by people who rate us 5 stars on their favorite podcast app. Because we not only accept, but we love bribes. This week on the bonus feed, I'm giving Sabrina a quickie on the next book in the Fever series. In our last roundup, I told Sabrina all about Blood Fever, and now we're on to Fae Fever by Karen Marie Moning. I cannot believe how much goes down in this series. It is absolutely bananas. That's this Friday on the bonus feed. Speaking of our wonderful patrons, we've got a new batch of patrons to shout out. So, hello, thank you so much, and welcome to Miss M, Rachel A, Janelle O, Joanna M, Amber Y, Catherine, Megan S, Taishira D, Robin J, Molly B, Shannon H, Savannah, Chanita 2006, Katie T, and Michelle O.R. Your direct support is so amazing, and we appreciate you. This week, we're getting our rock star on. So, here's part 1 of Lick by Kylie Scott.
Hi, Melody.
Oh, hey.
So, did you successfully not immediately go spend all of your hard-earned money and Audible credits on the rest of this series?
Look, it was touch and fucking go, okay? Because I need to know about Mal. I need to know.
Y'all, listener, I think the funniest thing to me, Mel. Okay, so listener, just for full disclosure, the second book in this series is also on the 5-star rec list, okay?
Yes.
And Melody comes to me, and I even brought this up when this book was on the list. I was like, hey, Mel, the first and the second book in this series are on the 5-star rec list. What if we just do like a 2-week stage dive extravaganza? Because they're gonna vote this book. And so we'll just do this book for 1 week, and then the second book we'll do the next week.
And I fucked myself hard because I was like, hard disagree. We're not doing that. We're not setting that precedent. Partially because it's better for the author to have like a spotlight on each book at different times, you know, like it gets them a wider reach.
Well,
so
and that's
I made all of these arguments
That's
about
why
it.
I didn't argue with you, is I was like, that makes sense. Both of our reasonings made sense.
Until I read book 1 and I met Mal. And then I hated it. Oh, I hated my decision not to do that. Oh, I'm so mad about it.
Oh my God. And like, I think it's so funny because like, I'm such an enabler for you while still moderating my enablement of your decisions. And this is one of the few times I think that I've ever put down a hard...
You did.
There's no compromise here.
She went like mean mommy on me a little bit.
What if I do...
I take it back.
Anyway, but yeah, I put my foot down with you, though.
Yeah.
I did mean mommy you. I hate that, but I did mean mommy you.
Yeah.
I said no.
You said you can't.
Actually, okay, that's not true. I didn't say no. I was like, Well, just think about the fact that, like, we are gonna have to do the second book, but, like, it was very clear that I was, like, it was very much
was
like...
a hard line.
It was a, no.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
But you explained your reasons to me, and that, you know, as a parent, that's one of the hardest things to do. One of the hardest things to do is not say, because I said so.
Meanwhile, listener, at the within the same like 2-day span though, I did encourage her to get 2 blueberry bushes. So like it's not
consistent, you know what I mean?
I would say it is, because I did limit you with the blueberry bush thing.
True.
I did say, because Melody did come in with like 4 fruit bushes, and I was like,
yeah,
what if you just get the blueberries? And she was like, well, but like they self-pollinating, blah, 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 blah. Like it's really best to have 2 of them. And I
thought she was saying only get 1.
I didn't say you could only get 1 bush.
Yeah.
I was just saying pick 1 fruit.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, it's on like Donkey Kong.
Did you
it's blackberries, by the way.
Oh, okay. I knew it was a bee berry of some kind.
Totally.
Anyway, so listener, we're here today to record on
to do lick and only lick and not play or something.
Melody, because there is a future 5-star rec-isode coming up. Have you read past this book, or did you actually stop?
I actually stopped.
Book?
No, you want to know how I therapized myself? I'll tell you. Are you ready?
Oh my God. Whoa. I'm so sorry. I just need like there to be space for a second to like.
And like party hats.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Also shocked.
Thank you so much.
I was fully prepared to come in today and like lay down the hammer every single time you started talking about something that happened in the second book. I was going to be a real bitch about it.
I hear you. Here's how I did it, okay? Are you ready? Instead of going down the lick stage dive rabbit hole, I don't know if you've checked out our Libby recently, but I did get every Paladin book there is. And I'm currently in the middle of book 3.
I did notice that. Yeah. I did, in fact. I did. Because
so
I haven't started it, but I do have the first 2 books because I know I'm going to enjoy them.
Yeah. They're immensely good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so instead I just went on a different one.
I do just want to check. Are they different couples for all of the books?
Yep.
When I saw that the second book was the one that was recommended, I didn't do a huge deep dive, but it looked like they were separate couples for all of them, and I'm so fucking relieved. Melody, I feel like we have had so many non-standalones in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Some accidental, some intentional.
Sure.
And I'm angry about every one of them.
Yeah. Paladins are all following different people, and the author gives you exactly what you want. Like, I met 2 characters, and I was like, both of these characters need books. Actually, 3 characters, and between books 3 and 4, we got some. So...
Okay. All right. I'm very
excited about it.
Maybe I need to go. I only took out the first 2 books, so... I might have to go
head to our Libby, you know? I think they're already there.
I don't know.
Fine.
Well, they would be there on audio, though.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And I would be eyeball reading them.
Depends on the format you want, you know?
Yeah. By the way, I would just like to say that this is just a pat on my back, that when I go take out an ebook that I think you're going to enjoy, I do just go automatically take out the audiobook.
I did
Have
try.
You noticed
there were
that?
A couple of them. I did notice that. Yeah. And I tried with the
I've
ebook.
noticed it. I've noticed that you have done it before though.
Yeah.
Because there was one time I was like, oh man, you'd been talking about like it was some podcast book. And I was like, I should really go get that ebook. And then I went in there and it was already there. And I was like, Melody, you beautiful. And it'd been in there for like 3 days. And I was like, oh, Melody, you sexy motherfucker. Honestly, if your man ain't doing that for you.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah. No, that's love. That is love.
That's love. All right, let's just jump into it.
We gotta talk about Ev and David, okay? And Ev woke up, she had a rogue tampon moment, okay? She wakes up.
Oh my God. Melody, I need you to understand. I thought you were just fucking up names so hard and so aggressively from get-go. Because, listener, the characters' names are Evelyn and like ampersand and David. And so you just said you mushed it, and I was like, who's Evan? I was like, did I read the wrong book? Fuck. And we've had so many close calls with one of us reading the wrong book in the last like month or two. And so I was like, oh my God, it happened.
It happened. It finally
happened. How is this the one? Anyway.
No, her name is Evelyn, but she's like pretty aggressive about being called Ev. Mm-hmm. At one point, Mal tries to call her Evie, and she's like, I stomped that nickname out years ago, and I will not go back.
The voice in this book was so fascinating to me. Okay, so like this book was just a ride, frankly. So this book is 12 years old. It came out in 2013. I have known about this series for at least a decade. You know what I mean? Even before I was back into reading romance, or back into reading, period, because I did the thing a lot of us do where, you know, you go into college and all of a sudden you have to read a shit ton for college, and so you just stop reading. And even before I got back into reading, I knew about this book. And then on top of that, when I joined Romance Landia in general, oh my God, you cannot talk about Rockstar Romance without this book coming up as a recommendation.
Interesting.
It's everywhere.
I mostly see like the Kristen Callahan recs, but yeah.
I see that as well. Kristen Callahan, like those pop whatevers, but like that and this. And like I actually had it mixed up in my head when we first saw I saw it on the 5-star rec list. I thought that I had read this book. It's not. I haven't read this one. I've read Kristen Callahan's series. But I don't know what I was expecting.
Me neither. I came in totally blind in every way. And this book, every way. Had no idea what I was getting into.
Did you know it was a Rockstar romance?
I mean, I saw that like there was a guitar on the cover, so like yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I came in completely blind, and I don't know, we were talking about it before we started recording because it was hard not to read book 2. And so Sabrina said something like, and you really, really liked the book. And I had to sit there and be like, I don't know, like book was good, you know, but it's not like something that I need to shout from the rooftops. You know what I mean? Like it was a good book. I enjoyed it. But
it's a book that I've read.
And she said it's compulsive. It is. It's a compulsive read. Like you just have to keep turning the pages or else your brain will hate you. And that's what it is.
And like the series in general, like this author, like I don't think I've read any Kylie Scott. I think this was my first Kylie Scott book. I didn't go look into my history. But boy, she knows how to write a compulsive series, period. Hell yeah. Like I need Mal's book. Like you were like, I have to know what happens to Mal. I was like, same. I also need to know what happens to that drummer boy and that singer boy.
Okay, I don't know how she's going to redeem Jimmy, you know? Like, he does a hard 180 in the last 20% of the book, and that's great. But, like, it's going to be tough for me to read a Jimmy book and be like, Jimmy deserves, you know, all the whatever.
Really? He's one of the ones I love a redemption. I'm like, do you know when his book is? Who's the next book? Do you know anything about the order of these characters?
Yeah, so it's Mal the drummer, then Jimmy, then Ben the giant bass player. And then...
Oh my God. Okay, hang on though. There's a billion side books to this series and novellas.
One of the side books I'm about to tell you about is Margaret the Bitch and Sam the Bodyguard.
I need Sam's books. I was thinking that the entire book every time. You remember how Cade stole the show, and I was relieved that Cade was part of that book.
That's Sam in this.
That's how I felt about Sam, and I'm like, anytime he was on page, I was like, I don't know who else is in this scene.
Nobody else matters.
No one else matters in this scene because Sam is here.
This gentle, careful giant who just is gonna take care of you no matter what.
I knew he wasn't gonna be the love interest, but like I was like, if he doesn't have a novella,
he has one, and it's with Margaret the Bitch. I'm really excited about that one.
It's with Margaret.
Margaret. Y'all, listener, we're going to get into Margaret because I don't know that I've ever read a more unapologetic bitch. And I loved her.
I loved her.
Margaret the bitch. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, listener, we're going to get into Margaret, but like, I don't know, in my recent memory, I have not read such an unapologetic bitch.
Oh my God.
And I loved her.
I don't even
I can't even aspire to be her. There's
God,
no
I could never.
universe in which I could ever embody a Margaret.
No, I couldn't.
You know?
I would.
She's almost like a mythical creature to me.
You'd need to put me in a casket before I ever got to be a Margaret. I'm way too concerned about hurting people's feelings. But
But I love being BFFs with a Margaret.
I feel like everybody needs a Margaret in their lives. People like you and I.
We definitely need
Margaret
Margarets in our lives. Yeah.
Because they stand up for us when we won't stand up for ourselves.
What is it, like golden retriever and black cat friendships? Yeah.
Or relationships. And like, it's one of those things, like, I'm capable of getting Margaret-esque on somebody else's behalf, I think is the biggest thing. Is like, things that I will do for but that's the thing, is like, things I'll do for somebody else, I could never even
contemplate for myself.
You need more ketchup? Oh my God, I'm gonna go up and get you one of every condiment from that person. Myself, no, I'm fine.
But like at one
completely
point,
wrong order. That's fine. I'll eat it.
I'm
so sorry.
Is this egg
they brought the
raw?
They brought the wrong side for you. Actually, they ordered. I'll be polite about it, but like, actually, they ordered hot potato salad instead of baked potato salad. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The littlest thing for somebody else, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am not eating red meat today, and they brought me a hamburger. It's fine.
It's fine.
I
was gonna eat it tomorrow anyway.
It's fine.
It's totally. I can make it work.
I'll eat fish tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, okay. And like, listener, the last time we see Margaret in this book, she has this conversation with the main character.
Scenes of all time.
Same. And one of my favorite parts is that like Margaret doesn't even have to say goodbye to like do a mic drop. She literally does not say any kind of farewell to this heroine. She just gets up and
ends her story
splits.
And leaves. And the only reason she does it is because of her brother. Otherwise, there's no way she would have done anything, period, ever.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's wild.
Hey, HBs. Imagine if Succession was a Little Mermaid retelling. Then set it in a theme park. If that sounds as amazing to you as it does to me, you need to check out Marin in the Moonlight by A.E. Merriweather. Here's the description. Marin Vandersea has had enough of her overachieving, disapproving family, so she does something crazy. Instead of starting her second semester of grad school, she drives straight to Revel Point, the iconic theme park owned by the Reeve family, to finally be where her people are. While there, she works as her favorite Revel princess, Rose Red, and develops an insane crush on her Prince Charming. Things go swimmingly until Marin saves the very handsome and very drunk Ethan Reeve from drowning after hours. Ethan is in over his head. After a series of family tragedies, the prodigal son and notorious playboy was named interim CEO of Revel Point. Not ever planning on returning to the theme park, he doesn't know or care much about his family's multi-billion-dollar company. But when Ethan discovers his late brother's passion project may be on the chopping block, he decides to take action. To make sure his brother's last wish is fulfilled, he turns to the only person he knows who loves Revel, the gorgeous adult reveler who saved his life, Marin Vandersea. When Ethan offers Marin the opportunity of a lifetime, she takes it. But she's in for an emotional roller coaster as she can't stop thinking about Ethan. And while he may not be the Prince Charming she's always dreamed of, it is possible he could give her a happy ending. If you like books that include chosen family, a heroine who finds her voice, and a lot of witty banter, this is the romance for you. I'm putting buy links in the show notes so that you can pick it up at your earliest convenience. Then, look forward to the second book in the series, Summer in the Snowfall, which comes out this September.
Okay, so we open up with Ev and David.
That's the one.
They wake up in Vegas. We've had a lot of those lately.
She's got like cotton mouth. She's bleary. And like suddenly, and then she realizes she's on like a tile floor. Is she hugging a toilet? Oh no. And then there's like a sexy man who blurrily comes into focus. And she's like, oh no, sexy man is not wearing shirt. What's happening right now? What have I done? She like checks because her whole deal is that she came to Vegas for her 21st birthday with her best friend. And she was like, I'm going to have sex on this trip. I'm going to have good sex and I'm going to see if I like sex because she's only had like one sexual experience and it was like bad. It was bad and it has like, you know, bad connotations and the guy was kind of a jerk and like whatever. And so she checks her bra, which this was kind of I have questions about this later logistically, but she's like, she checks her bra and oh no, the condom that she had stashed away in her bra is still there. So she didn't get railed.
Hey, ma'am, the condom still being there doesn't mean you didn't have
that
sex.
Doesn't mean
especially if you were completely blackout wasted that night. Like, I'm so sorry to tell you that, but that's not an accurate representation of whether or not penetrative sex occurred.
No. And so he's like, oh, here's some Advil and, you know, some water. And she's like, okay. And she looks down at her hand, her left hand, and she's got a rock the size of Mars on there. And it's a glitterin', okay? And as they're talking, he realizes that, like, she doesn't remember a whole lot.
Anything. Because she's like, where did this come from? And it turns out he makes some comment about, like, well, you were going to just put on whatever, but I made them open up a Cartier because you deserved better.
And you were trying to pick out the smallest gems, you know, stone or whatever.
And she's like, what? What are you saying? And he's like, and then she starts to realize that they're married.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God. And
she says, what happened last night? And he says, we got fucking married. And then she throws up right on the floor.
Which, like,
so good.
Mood. That's a mood.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if I woke up after blackout the night before in Vegas, it doesn't matter who looked me dead in my face and says we got married.
No, that's terrifying.
I would vomit on the floor in front of them.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
I don't even care if this is a Dex and what's his butt situation, like in
a best friend, I mean? Dex and Trip, yeah.
If my best friend looked me dead in my face and says, yeah, we got married last night, I'd vomit on the floor in front of them.
I mean, you are a mere mortal.
I will say, though, I've noticed this. I found out the actual logistics of marriage in Vegas. And you know how this is such a random ass trope for this to happen too, because there's so many tropes that I whimsy and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever.
Oh yeah,
I'm just gonna whatever.
You just suspend your disbelief.
You suspend your disbelief. Now that I know the legality of actually getting married on a whim in Vegas, this isn't possible.
It's kind of hard to do. Yeah.
It's not possible like this, period. You have to like fill out paperwork the day, like the morning. It's a marriage to do with it. You know what I mean? Like what happened with even when we read Dex and what's his butt's book, Dex and Trip's book, I was like, would it happen like that? This book wouldn't happen. Like, why can I suspend my disbelief about the craziest shit? And not even in a non-contemporary. In a contemporary, I can whimsy so much. And now that I know this, I'm like, you wouldn't actually be able to end up drunk and married in Vegas nowadays.
I'm wondering if this is like a post 9/11 type of situation, you know, where like laws have been cracked down upon and it's become more and more and more restrictive. So I'm wondering if it's that kind of a situation where
Yeah,
years and years ago.
I don't know when all of the laws changed. I mean, because like years ago, you could do this kind of like this was absolutely something you could do.
Sure.
I just like why is this the one thing? My brain's like, actually, that's not that's not how that works.
I know.
You know.
Anyway, so he's like, wait, what do you remember? And she's like, oh. And he says, you don't remember anything? Like, do you remember getting me a burger? And she's like, no. And do you remember like this thing? And she's like, no.
Oh my God. And then he starts talking about gondolas and she's like, I don't remember that either.
Yeah, do you remember going on the gondola at the Venetian?
Oh my
God.
God.
Like, no.
And literally this entire scene, I could see the rest of this book writing itself in my eye where I was like, this was an important night to him.
Yeah, this was one of those nights where like everything changes for him and then she doesn't remember it.
Yeah. And so
So
she's
he
like, okay,
understandably like freaks out.
well, and she's like, obviously we'll get annulled and we'll like whatever. Because, oh my God, they did naked cuddles the night before instead
Which is
of
the
like,
other reason that the condom
sex.
doesn't make any sense. They did topless snuggling. How did condoms stay in boob? Did he
She had it pinned.
like put it back in? Oh, it was pinned?
Yeah, she states in book that it's pinned there.
Hey, listener, do not pin condoms to anything, okay? Those cannot be perforated at all.
Oh my God!
Like, don't do that. You don't want
like the
holes in them.
emergency condom on your bulletin board. I think it said it was pinned because I had the same question. Actually, I didn't have the same question, but I thought it was weird. I was like, how did it? Anyway. Oh my God, you're right. Wow, I whimsied the fuck out of that, but I can't whimsy the fact that they're married.
Okay, I guess if she was very careful with pin and only went through like the part that you tear or something, like maybe, but like don't even take that chance.
Well, not even that. The germaphobe in me, if you went through any part of that container that left the interior exposed now
absolutely
to the environment, you're not putting that on your anything and sticking that inside of me.
No, absolutely not. Anyway, don't pin your
I don't know.
That's
a big statement for somebody who let a stranger finger bang them in a bathroom when they were younger like that. Maybe I guess things are
evolved.
Yeah, things are different now. I have stories that would make you go, "I'm so sorry. You won't let what happen to your nethers? You what? I'm so sorry. That doesn't compute at all."
So she like goes and takes a shower and she's like, okay, I'm going to come out and I'm going to tell him that like it's easy. We'll just get divorced because she has like a capital P plan. She is gonna follow in her dad's footsteps and become an architect and like have 2.41 kids and like, you know, all the bullshit. And so this really derails the situation. And when when she comes out, he just tells her like, he says, I'll have my lawyers take care of this. And she's like, you have lawyers? Because she's been thinking to herself, like, did I marry a criminal because he's got grungy clothes on, but he could buy this 5-carat wedding ring? And like, he doesn't look like a person who like should have money, but he does. So she's like, oh my God, he has lawyers. I've got to divorce him immediately. He's a crime boss. He's a big capital C crime. And then he's like, yeah, I have lawyers. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then he says, what, you don't think it's a good idea? And there's like, I could just hear the hope in his voice. You know?
Or he's like, maybe we won't.
Maybe it's just like a suggestion. And she's like, oh, no. It's a great idea. We should definitely do that. And so he puts on his leather jacket over his naked torso.
She also, this is another thing. She fucking has a tattoo on her butt cheek.
As soon as he
guy's
leaves.
Name.
Yeah, they got tattoos that night. This night must have been like 18 hours long. You know what I mean?
I also couldn't whimsy that one. You know? I was like...
Totally.
That's not...
I mean, I decided to whimsy that because celebrity, question
For some
mark.
reason, I could whimsy the tattoo more than I could whimsy the wedding. The marriage.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get a dodgy tattoo.
Anyway,
way easier.
boy, he fucking flips his lid over this situation, though. Like, when he realizes she's committed to getting divorced, and, like, that's really the only option as far as she's concerned. And he's a real dick about it.
Yeah, he, like, doesn't quite lash out, but it's on the cusp. And then she tries to give him the ring back, and he's like, I don't want that. And she's like, no, you have to take it. It's, like, really expensive. And he's like, I don't care. She's like, no, you have to take it. And he says, no, I don't. And then just turns around and fucks off forever.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know his name. She knows nothing about him.
Oh my God, y'all. And then, of course, her friend shows back up at the hotel. They head home back to Portland, Oregon, and they get out of the airport, and it is paparazzi central.
And they're yelling her name.
So they know exactly who she is. They're like, is it true that you married David? My brain wants to call him Fentanyl. That's not right. It's Ferris.
Oh, it's Ferris.
Jesus.
Not Fennelhoff, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're like, oh, is the band going to break up? Is it true the band is breaking up? And so she's like, oh, fuck, that's who he is. That's why he looked familiar. He's the guitarist in my best friend's favorite band, the sensation of all sensations, Stage Dive.
Mm-hmm. This was such a cute premise that I am a sucker for this premise where celebrity is celebrity or like well-known person, and they're charmed by the person.
One of the little
because
folk.
they're like not even little folk, but somebody who has no idea who they are.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when you're somebody who is like insanely well known.
Uh-huh.
And then they're like, you don't what do you mean you don't know who that is? Because like I've had experiences like that growing up in Southern California where like it definitely is possible. Obviously I never had a grand romance like that, and frankly I'm glad, because the thought of marrying a celebrity like this makes me want to break out in hives.
Yeah,
but like
absolutely.
it's just very cute.
It
And
is
like
very cute.
when people just have they're like, what do you mean you haven't heard of me?
Yeah, and then they realize the difference that they feel
they
when
get
somebody
treated.
sees them
They
as
get
just a
treated like
human,
person.
just as themselves. And so, okay, so then she goes to her parents' house because they have like a fence. And she and okay, I also looked this up. I don't know if I was bad at Google or whatever, but like I don't why don't we have Nathan and Lauren's book? You know what I mean? Is there a Nathan and Lauren book?
I want their novella
Because what the fuck?
so badly.
You know?
It would be a perfect novella. It would be a little enemies to lovers, friends, best friend's brother,
Locked in a cabin,
forced
kind of
proximity.
Yes, that's
like
the one.
so many tropes. And because he's a big batch man, it'd probably be an only one bed situation.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, their book would be so, I don't know. I will say though, you mentioned 2 novellas. There are like 6 for this series.
Okay, maybe I was bad at Google. Maybe. Because I wasn't very committed to it. But anyway, so it was a half-hearted Google, you know.
It's fine.
I got
we'll
distracted.
We'll have a lot
It was
more
whole thing.
information, because I think I will, like I said earlier, like this book is compulsive, and I think the series is going to be compulsive, and so we had to limit ourselves for this episode. I will probably be going down a little Stage Dive rabbit hole for
probably, yeah,
the next.
And everything is narrated by Andy Arndt, so she's really good, like top-notch narration, good stuff. So anyway, Lauren and Nathan, the 2 people I just referenced, Lauren is the best friend, Nathan is Ev's brother. So they end up at her parents' house, and then in order to, like, you know, get people away.
Oh my God, and their novella would be a reformed rake novella.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And a reformed brawler.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
So they, like, Nate comes and picks up Lauren and takes her away so that, like, she's safe from the paparazzi. And they're just camped out outside of the house. Her dad gets a call, and she realizes that she has been fired from her, like, schmancy architecture internship that she, like, was really banking on. Yeah. Because they just, like, can't with all the publicity. And, like, architecture firm, that's a mistake. That's what we like to call a mistake.
I mean, like, the free publicity alone.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway,
Like,
and then the love of Melody and Mai's life, Sam, knocks on that door.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
with a
he
big
had
beefy hand.
he has David on the phone,
And she's like, I bet you do. And he's like,
Uh-huh.
no, seriously. And she's like, go fuck yourself. And he's like, okay, let me just pass you the phone.
I do like there are aspects of Ev that I love quite a bit.
Yeah. Because she's like, nice ruse, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you're
so
not getting a picture.
she finally agrees, and it basically ends up being David is inviting her down to LA because the paparazzi aren't going to leave her alone, and if she's going to be hiding out anyway, she should come hide out there, and so they can get this figured out.
They're very used to paparazzi, and she has to sign papers anyway. And like, fuck a courier, he says that.
Yep.
He's like, fuck a courier.
Word for word.
You better get down here.
He knows exactly what a courier is.
That's the one.
Uh-huh.
So she flies down via private jet, and Sam tries to give her some champagne, and she's like,
yeah,
nope,
she doesn't
thank
drink
you so
again.
much.
In this entire book, basically.
Yes. Yeah, the whole book. Well, yeah. Yes, she doesn't. She can't handle alcohol for a good 3/4 of this book because that's only 3 days.
Oh my God, you're so right, though. I forgot just how quick this is a very fast timeline.
Yeah.
Very fast. Oh,
So
also
fast.
of note, she's like it was her 21st birthday. That's why they
Yes.
were in Las Vegas. And so which like what a mood.
That's what I did for my
gambling on
21st.
your 21st birthday. I got to do it twice because in California you can legally like buy like lottery tickets and stuff like that at 18. And so on my 18th birthday, I went and bought lottery tickets. And then in Louisiana, you legally have to be 21 to do any of that stuff. And so for my 21st birthday, I both went to the casino for the first time in New Orleans. And I also bought lottery tickets because like,
Nice.
I can do the thing now.
I went to Vegas with my best friend, and then I technically did Vegas wrong, but it was great.
What does that mean?
We got there, we were very tired, and so we took a nap until, oh no, we missed dinner. And then we just stayed in that night. And then like we did like Thunder from Down Under, that show. But otherwise we were just like poolside. I didn't care about the gambling. I didn't, I could have done that anywhere, but like we went to Vegas to do it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have one of these nights for sure.
Anyway, I've never had a hangover night in Las Vegas.
No. So she arrives at the like mansion, and Sam ends up sort of handing her off to this very spiky-haired blonde guy who's like pierced and friendly, and he's like, oh yeah, hey, child bride, I think he starts calling her the whole book, and it's incredible.
Well, I think the funniest thing too is like there's not that big of an age gap. He's 26.
Yeah.
There's
a 5-year age gap.
Like, I mean, okay, hang on though. I will say this is so funny too because like at 26, even at 26, I don't know that I would have been up for dating a 21-year-old, but like 5 years is not that big of an age gap.
Yeah. So Mal then is like, all right, I'll take you to him. And so she walks through this party of like, little tiny skirts and like beautiful people and like a couple of celebrities and stuff. And she's like, oh shit, what's happening? And then when he takes her out to the balcony where David is, he's got a bikini clad, just gorgeous bombshell who's like hanging all over him and like rubbing her boobs on his arm a little bit anytime she can. And like, get it, Katrin, whatever your name is.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, hey, David, your wife is here. And he's like, she's not my wife. He's like, okay. And then he goes, well, can you just go get her a room? And Mal's like, I'm not your fucking butler. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see you later, child bride.
Mm-hmm.
So he leaves, and then this makes David have to take her through the party up to the room that she'll be staying in. And she's trying to like connect with him a little bit. She wants to be friendly, and he's not having it at all.
Yeah. He's just such an asshole.
He's very curt. Yeah.
And it's because his feelings are hurt and he's emotionally stunted.
He's devastated.
But, like, god damn, David,
I would be really confused.
I need you to cool it just a little bit.
Also, it's not only that, like, he's a celebrity and she's a regular person. It's also, like, she has been bullied her whole life, not only by, like, schoolmates or whatever, but also, like, by her mom for being overweight. And so she also has these weird, you know, he's this beautiful Adonis on a pedestal, and I'm just, like, you know, a girl. And so she doesn't really understand. And now that he's not being nice to her at all, she's just like, how did this even happen? Like, you must have been shit-faced. And I'm shocked that you remember the night. So anyway, he takes her to this, like, really opulent room, puts her in there, and then he's like, okay, well, tomorrow morning the lawyers will be here, and so will my manager, and we can take care of this. And she's like, okay. And then he bounces.
There's also, like, a run-in scene with Jimmy.
So we're about to get there.
Okay.
So then right after this, she's in the room looking out the window, and she sees him with Katrin on his arm going into the pool house, and he, like, takes off her bikini top. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, wow, that's none of my business. But also, what do? You're just going to put your little wife in a tower? Fuck this. I'm going to go look around at least.
I refuse to be Rapunzel. How fucking dare you?
That's the one. Exactly.
Which,
so
like,
when, yeah. So
I would also, to be fair, in this exact situation, I would have to wander around this house.
Of course. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Would I talk to anyone? Probably not. No, I would. I probably would.
I would talk to everybody, especially because I'm probably the only sober person in this entire house. I would be so fascinated. But anyway, she does go downstairs and she's, like, wandering around, and then she runs into this guy, Jimmy, who is clearly high as a 747. Like, he is through the stratosphere, and he's a dick. And then he realizes who she is, and then he's a bigger dick.
Yeah, so he's sort of got her cornered in this, like, potted palm situation. And he's like, oh, I know everybody here. I don't know you. And she's like, there's a lot of people here.
Also, weirdly, he's in, like, a full suit.
Okay, this is the thing I was just about to get to, because Kylie Scott, hey, what is this band's aesthetic ? You know? Because David is, like, you know, graphic tees and ripped jeans and, like,
tattoos,
shit kicker boots
everywhere,
tattoos all over his fucking body, leather jacket all the time. Okay, cannot go anywhere without his leather jacket. Mal has piercings all over. He's obviously very alt as well. I think
there's,
like,
Jimmy, who looks like a fucking CEO.
Yeah, he just looks like a 1980s Coke bro. You know what I mean? And, like, he is a Coke bro. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But he's in, like, a full suit, maybe a 3-piece suit. And then, like, what is Ben doing? What does Ben look like? Do you think Ben is just, like, this gentle giant in, like, a polo and whale shorts or something? You know? Like, what is Ben's deal?
What is a whale short?
It's those, remember how we were talking about boat shoes the other day?
Yeah,
it's that aesthetic.
That, like,
where, like,
mid-thigh.
little tiny whales are sewn onto khakis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's sort of how I pictured Ben, and so I just don't understand what Stage Dive is doing.
Ben?
Yes, I don't know why.
That is not how I pictured Ben. I pictured Ben. I actually pictured him as a very specific. The minute I can't think of his name or what band he's in, I imagined Ben like this one guy on. I know him from TikTok, but he's a part of a band. He has long black hair. I cannot.
Ben's got really short hair.
He does?
Yes.
Oh, well.
So I dressed him up in my head like all preppy and shit, because if you're gonna go from, like, grunge alt into full ass business suit for the main singer, like, the bassist can do anything he wants. Okay, like, there's no rules here. There's no fucking rules here.
It's very amusing.
Yeah. So Jimmy's like, oh, yeah, I haven't seen you before. And he's got her, like, up against the wall. And then she hears David say, Jimmy, leave her alone. Get away from her. And when Jimmy realizes who she is, he's like, oh my God, you're so fucking idiotic. Like, this is a girl that I could have up against a wall at a party, and you married her?
Jimmy is the most unrighteous asshole in this scene. He says he
fat shames her really hard.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, a bunch of shit happens with Jimmy, and David's like, hey, quit it. Like, no, get the fuck out of here. Goodbye, Jimmy. And then he goes to take her back up to the room.
Hang on. He intervenes and defends her, and then immediately takes her upstairs and berates her for flirting with Jimmy. And I'm like, David. No, you know what I did? I said, ew, David.
Ew,
you know?
David. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he's like, oh, of all the people down there, you had to flirt with Jimmy.
They end up in a huge argument, and she's defending herself, and then finally she literally, and I loved this because they're arguing, and then she stopped because he's like, okay, well, fine, tell me what you were doing instead. And she looks at him.
He says, defend yourself, and he's like, yeah, show me that you're not into Jimmy, as in, like, come at me, I'll service you.
And she says, thank you for offering me the opportunity to defend myself. I really appreciate it. But you know what, David? I'm just not convinced your good opinion is worth it.
Ooh, sick burn. I loved it.
Oh my God.
There are so many times in this book where she, like, very politely puts people on their asses. And I dug it.
Me too.
So the next morning, she wakes up and there's, like, a knock on the door, and this lady, Margaret, is there. And she's, like, this statuesque brunette who's, like, you know, LA finery on. Everything is a label and no hair out of place. And she introduces herself as David's personal assistant. And she's like, get dressed. We've got the lawyers down there, and, you know, we're going to handle some business. So she's like, okay, I guess so. And meanwhile, she's still, all she has, she's gone from Vegas to her parents' house and then directly down here. So she still just has the small and the small suitcase that's now full of dirty clothes from her trip to Vegas. And so she's just, like, trying to make it work, kind of. And she has his shirt because he left that in the room when he flounced away.
Shirtless with a leather jacket on him.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty great. That's a mood. He's just like, I can't, and I won't.
I was laughing so hard when he flounced out of there. I was like, sir, your shirt.
It's so good.
Sir.
And so, and Margaret clocks that she slept in his shirt. And she hates it, okay?
Yeah.
So she gets down there to the lawyers, and it's like a full panel of doom.
And they're all just such assholes. Yeah, and, like, they are basically accusing her of doing this in order to get a big settlement and blah, blah, blah. And because she's like, because they offer her a settlement amount. And, like, this is just a blanket amount. And she's like, wait. And they're like, you can't get more. And she's like, no. And they're like, we're telling you, you can't get more. This is what is agreed to. And she's like, I need you to shut the fuck up.
She can't even get, like, her question formulated in her brain because they keep cutting her off so hard. And being like, Ev knows this was just, like, a fun mistake. And, like, it's not going to be a big deal. So she's got lawyers on one side being like, the settlement is good and you're not going to get better. And then the manager on the other side being like, I'm sure Ev understands and, like, she'll have no problem signing this, right, Ev? And she's just like, what the fuck?
It's gross. The entire situation is slimy and disgusting.
Yeah.
And she ends up getting so, like, she's overwhelmed, frankly.
Yeah.
And because she's also alone in there. He's not even around.
No. And she has no representative whatsoever.
Yeah. She stands up, throws her wedding ring on the table, and she's like, you can keep all of it, get fucked, and then just walks out. She has a much better parting line than that, to be clear.
I mean, but, you know, the spirit of the phrase is there.
And she just she's in escape mode. She needs, like, a minute to herself for understandable reasons.
So she goes to flee out the front door, and Mal pulls up in his Jeep, and he's like, "Hey, child bride," and she's like, "Get fucked again." And then he gets out and like goes to stop her and try to talk to her, and she's so worked up that she just automatically turns around and takes a big ol' swing at him. Misses. He ducks out of the way. But he's like,
perfect.
"Whoa, what's happening?" And by that point, the lawyers are on, like, in the front door. And so Mal's like, "Are you shitting me? He sicked all of them on you?" And she's like, "Yes, and I don't know what to do." And he's like, "And you were totally alone?" And she's like, "Yes." So he's like, "Get in my car. We're going to go to my house. We can hang there and chill. I'll get you out of the, like, spotlight of the paparazzi." So they go and they just have like a self-care day. They do like face masks.
It was so cute. Yeah. And they're just hanging out until knock, knock, knock on that front door, and David is here. And she's like peeking around a corner when Mel goes to open the door, just in case it's the paparazzi. And then he walks in and he's like, "Where is she? What have you done to her?
You better not have
and
touched her," he says.
And Mal is like very aware that Ev is right there. And he does. He confronts David about his treatment, and he's like, "You having issues is not a valid reason to be mean to this nice lady." Like,
yeah.
You need to get over yourself.
There's no excuse for feeding her to the wolves. And like, Mal asks enough questions of David about like that night that she gets a little bit more of a picture of why they ended up getting married. Basically, he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to, and, you know, I really liked her." And she gets like a little bit more information about him not being an asshole to her.
And also, like, it's clear enough that it wasn't a mistake on his part. That's what she really picks up out of this conversation, is that this was not he was not drunk and blackout, and this was just a fun whatever. Like, this was something.
This was an eyes wide open decision that he made. So he says, like, "We'll go get her." And he's like, "I mean, I couldn't do that. She's right there around the corner.
She's busy
spying on us, and so I can't interrupt that." And so then David turns and he's like, "Hey, I'm, hello, I'm sorry," or whatever. And then Mal gets a text, and we find out that there was a stalker photo taken of her being tatted on her ass, and it's now viral.
Yep.
So she goes to like quietly hyperventilate in the bathroom a little bit.
Oh my
Understandable.
God. And then we got a big swoon of mine, because he shows up and he knocks on that door, and she lets him in, and he ends up like holding her and like swaying her while she cries in his arms, and I'm such a little hoe for that. I was like, okay, David, maybe you're redeemable.
Maybe you're not a monster.
Maybe you're not the worst.
I don't know.
To be clear, by the end of the book, I did still want to punch him in the face.
Every time. Yeah, for sure.
But
this
was
though.
Very cute. Yeah. And so he's
then
like,
he's
okay,
like,
let's go for a drive. Let's go for a drive. Let's get out of town. And she's like, "No, I don't want to do that." And he ends up talking to her into it, because she's decided that she's going to use her savings. She's going to just disappear into the wilderness for
She's
a while.
She's going to go to a motel in Mesa, Arizona, or somewhere where nobody will look for her.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Well, if you're going to do that anyway, why don't you come with me? And it'll be better than that." And she finally ends up agreeing. And
and she says, "Wait, you want to do that? You want to go away with me?" And he's like, "Yes, I do want to do that." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So she actually at this point thinks they're just going for a drive. They haven't gotten any of her stuff, nothing like that. So like she left her cell phone at the mansion and everything. When she wakes up, she realizes that he's driven her to his house in Monterey. And on this drive, they start having more conversations where she's like, "Can you just tell me about that night? Because it's really not fair that you remember and I don't." And he looks at her with his broody face, and he says, "You're right. It's not fair that I remember." and you don't.
He's such a dramatic little shit.
He is, yeah.
So they get to Monterey and they walk into his house. It turns out it's his house, but he's had people taking care of it. And so, like, he's never been there. He's owned this house for years and he sends stuff there. That's like, this is his home, but he's never actually been here.
He's never set foot on the premises.
She doesn't understand anything about that.
And it's
right?
not really furnished. There's just like boxes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, ugh, I'm going to get a beer and go to bed. And she's like, at 10 in the morning? And he's like, I've been up for 48 hours. Like, this is bedtime for me.
But then they have a kiss.
Yeah.
This is the kiss because he
flounces again, though. Because we got to get every flounce, all right?
I know, but you said go to bed. And so
goddamn
I thought you were...
flamingo. Oh, no.
Yeah. And because he says, no, it's not fair that I remember you don't. And he grabs that beer and he goes outside and he sits on that beach. And she's like, what is happening? Like, okay. So she goes after him, walks out there and is talking to him. And then we get another... favorite micro trope.
Yeah.
Intimacy for science.
Yeah. We gotta jog her memory. So maybe we should kiss.
They have a smooch. And
she
hot.
says, yeah. Well, and I loved it because she's like, wait, you want to kiss me? And he says, you don't want me to kiss you? And she says, no, I'm fine with you kissing me. And he's like, it's very generous of you. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, it's a hot, hot kiss. And when they part, she's like forgotten that it was for science. You know, she's panting. She doesn't know what's happening. And he's like, did you remember anything? And she's like, no, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
and then
okay.
He realizes she's cold and he has his arm around her to keep her warm. And then, like, beer's done and this whole experience is over. And they're like, okay, it's time to go sleepy bye. I've been awake for
too long.
Forever. And I'm
for
exhausted.
More than a human should be awake.
And frankly, he's probably been drunk and then sober multiple times in that 48 hours.
Yeah.
So they get upstairs and they end up like snuggling.
There is only one
together.
bed, notably.
It isn't only one. Mm-hmm.
In this mansion in Monterey, only one bed.
This is when she learns about naked cuddles, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, well, this isn't how that happened that night. We did snuggle that night.
But it was topless cuddles, because topless cuddles are better than any other cuddles.
Which,
true.
Fair. Accurate.
Yeah.
And then they end up, like, laying there and just getting to know each other and talking about his passion and, like, her plan. And she asks him if he does anything other than guitar. And he tells her that he can, do all of the things. And he also specifically, very importantly, says anyone with two hands can play the drums. You should tell Mel I said that. And I did laugh. And then when she finds out he sings too, she asks him to sing for her. So he sings part of it for her in bed.
And she says, did you sing to me that night? And he's like, yeah, I did. And so then when he stops, she's like tearing up because it's so beautiful. Okay, his voice and the resonance of his, chest against her back and everything is just very overwhelming. And so she's crying now. And he says, oh no, I've made you sad. And she says, no, I'm not sad. Like, it's just real. That was wonderful. It was really gorgeous. Well, and then he says, I'll sing you a happier one next time. And she thinks to herself, I really love that he says there's going to be a next time. Mm-hmm. There's going to be another time.
And then at one point he says, I like you the way you are. Blurting out whatever shit crosses your mind. Not trying to play me or use me. You're just being with me. I like you. I lay there speechless for a moment, taken aback. Thank you. You're welcome. Anytime, Evelyn. Anytime at all. I like you too. His lips brushed against the back of my neck. Shivers raced across my skin. Do you? Yes. Very much. Thanks, baby. It's very cute. Their little intimate scenes.
Yeah.
Oh.
And like somewhere in here, she says, I think I understand a little bit more how we got married. Because, you know, he keeps on telling her, like, it wasn't just like a drunken extravaganza. Like, that's not how this happened. And so I don't want you to think that. And she's like, well, I do. That is what I think. So, like, tell me what happened, and then I'll be able to put the pieces together a little more. And so after this, she's like, no, I think I understand how we ended up getting married. And I really like you. And so she asks him how they met. I'm pretty sure this is in the car when they're driving up, but it doesn't matter. She asks him how they met, and it's because he and some of his like fancy groupies or whatever were at a club in Vegas, and they ran into one of the servers and her tray got knocked over. And so they were berating her for, you know, making a mess and like being an idiot and like being in the way and just all the terrible things. And she came out of stage left and was just like, you don't get to talk to her like that, and just dressed them down for being elitist assholes. And he loved it. He was
he
like,
did.
oh my God, like that's
when
incredible.
That flirting thing happened, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're talking about all of these things. So they end up falling asleep together and snuggling the whole night through. And in the next morning, they have a bunch of packages show up because he knows they don't have anything. So there's like clothes and all of these things.
So he had Margaret order a bunch of things, and Margaret got her a bunch of like party dresses and like a lot of them were in size 4s. Yeah. And Margaret got like the wrong teeny tiny sizes to like be a bitch. This is where I was super anti Margaret at this point.
I mean, understandable. This is fatphobic and shitty as fuck.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Petty in a really mean kind of way.
Yeah. So he's going through everything being like, the fuck is she doing? This is not something that you're going to wear. Like, what the fuck? And she's like, David, don't you think you're being like a little hypocritical here? Because like, that's exactly what every single girl at the party I went to was wearing, like just like this. And he's like, yeah, but you're different.
I have a lot of issues with that, but I understand what the intent of this scene was. To be fair, I have a lot of issues in general with the idea of not like you're not like other girls.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
And slut shaming and all of that jazz. So like, I allowed myself to whimsy this for the intent behind it.
Yes.
But I was very annoyed by that.
Yeah. One thing that I noted and liked, though, is that this scene, this interaction would be the perfect fodder for her to be like, the only difference is that I'm fat. And him be like, no, that's not, blah, 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 blah. And I was really glad that didn't happen in the book.
I was too. It's a better book for not having that. In fact,
for sure,
there's not really a whole lot. Like, she talks a lot about her weight and her body and her history and things like that. But it's not as big of a plot point as I was expecting it to be.
I'm certain that she's got the 2010s body dysmorphia that
I am too.
All of us had at that point.
Yeah,
because like
she
just has a
10.
big maybe, and her waist is so snatched, y'all. Okay, she talks about how she's got big boobs and a big butt, but like, ooh, it's hourglass over there. Okay,
she's
like a. Yeah, she's a very like
curvy,
quote unquote acceptable level of fat, right?
Yes.
And yet she talks about herself like she's a house.
Which like this fully tracks for this time. Like I look back at pictures of myself and I remember the way I thought about myself like in this.
I know.
Granted, I was also significant. This was over a decade ago, you know? And so like it tracks, but I'm like, I look back at pictures of myself from this time and I'm like, I can't believe you thought you were fat.
I know, right?
Not like, that fat is a bad word, because it's not.
No.
Like, in a body,
but I can't believe I was
dissatisfied
with my body.
Well, and the fact that, it's just,
and other people
wild.
Told me that I should be dissatisfied with my body.
Thing is like other people, like looking back.
What the fuck were they talking about, Sabrina?
We all had very fucked up views of ourselves and each other. It's
the
wild.
Paris Hilton effect was not great in the 2010s.
No, it was not. So they end up kissing again because she is, well, actually, so what happens is he gets up close to her. She's looking at a thong and she's like, I cannot believe that you spent $300 on a freaking thong. And he's like, I mean, like, it's worth it though. Look at this craftsmanship. And they're like teasing each other and flirting. And she ends up like real up close to him. And then she like snuffles him so hard. And then
it's
like
in that collarbone divot.
She
just
pauses.
Like Pandora.
But then she snuffles again. And he's like, what are you doing? And then she's remembering.
Yeah, she's like, stop it, stop.
And she says,
smells him again and she says, we went on the gondola. Go.
You said you couldn't swim, that I'd have to save you if we capsized. His Adam's apple jumped. Yeah. I was terrified for you. I know. You hung on to me so tight I could barely breathe. Why do you think we stayed on them for so long? You were practically sitting in my lap. Can you swim? He laughs quietly. Of course I can swim. I don't even think the water was that deep. And she says, it was all a ruse. You're tricky, David Ferris. And he says, and you're funny, Evelyn Thomas. And it was so cute.
Good
and
flirting.
Then she has decided that, so it was right around this time that she has decided, and I think it was actually the night before.
Yeah, it was.
She's decided that this is their second chance.
Yeah.
Clearly there was something there that led to them getting married, and she wants to give it a shot.
Yeah.
She knows that she's going to regret not giving this a shot if she doesn't do it.
And the way she proposes it to him right now is that she wants to, no, it was in an earlier conversation. She says, I want to make better memories that we can both share. And I think we can do that this weekend.
Yes. She decides right now, though, that it's time to seduce David again, though.
Yes.
And he realizes it, what she's doing, and he looks at her. I loved this so much. By the way, listener, he's in nothing but a towel. He's in just a towel right now.
He did just shower.
After his shower. And he says, what's the plan here, Ev? How are you going to convince me? Well, I was going to seduce you, I guess, and see what happened. Yeah? How? By complaining about me buying you stuff? No, that was just an added bonus. You're welcome. He licked his lips, but I saw the smile. Right. Come on, then. Show me your moves. My moves?
He has already told her how she hit on him the very first night. So she's going to recreate this right now. That's what the significance is.
She's like, my moves? And he says, your seduction techniques. Come on, time's a wasting.
Lay it on me.
I hesitated and he clicked his tongue impatient. I'm only wearing a towel, baby. How hard can this be? And she says, fine. And then she looks at him and she says, quote, what she said that night. I think you're a really nice guy, and I was wondering if you'd maybe like to come up to my room and have sex with me and maybe hang out for a while, if that's maybe something you'd be interested in doing. And he starts to get upset because he thinks that she's making fun of him for this, by doing this. And she's like, no, I'm super serious.
I'm very
asked
sincere
me
right now.
This morning in the car if I thought you were scary. The answer is yes. You scare me shitless. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I hate the thought of leaving you. And then he is like looking at her and debating, and she thinks that he is rejecting her because he's quiet for so long. And then he stops and he's like, oh man, you're kind of terrifying too. And she's like, I am? And he's like, yeah, you are. And wipe that smile off your face. And then they're smooching. And then we get
he's got her like down on the stairs.
Hot and heavy makeout on the stairwell.
Yeah. But
and
then ding dong. Oh no. Some friends are over and they've brought enchiladas or something. And it's like one of his music industry friends, they're a couple, they take care of the house, and the woman, Pam, is like incredibly warm. She's like, oh my gosh, he finally found a nice girl. I'm so happy. She's like holding her hand. And Evelyn has sort of been touch-starved her whole childhood because she doesn't have, like, a touchy-feely family at all. They, like, care and they love, but they're not effusive. And so she's looking at Pam and being like, oh, this is really nice, actually. Oh, no. But she's so horny, right? Like, least among us, right? So she's like, let's get rid of these people. But as they keep talking, she's like, oh, no,
These
this
people
is like
are actually important.
Yeah, they're important to him. And so she says, stay. And they're like, no, we couldn't possibly. You're newlyweds. And she's like, no, stay. Like, come eat with us. Like, we couldn't possibly eat all this. And he gives her the most, like approving, warm, tiny smile, you know? Ooh!
Yeah.
And then they end up staying up till, like, 4 in the goddamn morning, working in the studio and, like, playing songs and, like,
she
writing
fell asleep
music.
significantly earlier than this in, like, a chair. And this is just a PSA.
Okay.
To anybody out there. If I go to sleep at 1 a.m. because you're up fooling around and having a great time and drinking and partying.
Yeah.
And you wake me up at 5 a.m. Still drunk. By snuffling all up on me because you want to have a conversation. Yeah. I'm just going to tell you now, don't.
I'm not throwing hands, I'm throwing elbows. Okay.
I probably won't even fully wake up. I promise you there's a spare room in this house. You can wait until noon.
Get out.
Sleep.
It's like she notices that he smells like completely like old bourbon.
Yeah.
And like sweat and stuff. And that's allegedly okay because it's David and her feelings are overcoming her sensory experience. And that's fine.
This is definitely an insta-love book. Listener, yes, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, so it turns out the reason he's so excited is he wrote something. He wrote 2 songs. They're both about her, and it's the first time he's written in over 2 years. And okay, maybe I might be.
If it was big news like this, that's fine.
Yes.
But also, he knows that she's not a fan. Like, she's been like, I like you, but I don't give a shit about your band.
She's a country listener.
Yeah. And so because of that, like, there's no reason for her to know that he hasn't written in 2 years. And so she tries to be like, it's so nice. And he's like, no, you don't understand. This is huge. And he says, I had nothing to say for so long. And then I met you. And suddenly I have so much to say.
I haven't had anything I wanted to say in a long time. I didn't give a fuck. It was all just more of the same. But you changed things.
You changed me.
Fixed me.
You fixed me. That's a lot of pressure, David.
That's a lot of pressure, especially when this is already a pretty topsy-turvy situation.
Yeah.
But then it was also very cute because she realizes that she is, like, in just her underwear in this bed.
Yeah.
And she's like, what happened to them? This was so funny to me.
And a shirt. Just no bra.
Yeah, she is in a shirt. Yeah, because but she's like, what happened to the rest of my clothes? And he says, they left. He said, face serious. You took them? He shrugged. You wouldn't have been comfortable sleeping in them. And she's like, how on earth did you manage to get my bra off without waking me? He gave me a sly smile. I didn't do anything else. I swear. I just removed it for safety reasons. Underwire is dangerous. And she's like, right. And he says, I didn't even look. I narrowed my eyes on him. That's a lie, he admitted. I had to look. But we're still married. So
we're married.
Looking is okay. And she's like, is it? Is it okay?
Uh-huh.
It was pretty cute.
It was so cute. Yeah.
So they end up like snuggling and they don't have sex. Very importantly.
Notably.
Because they're both horny town. But she looks at him and she's like, I don't want to have sex with you when it's going to just be a vice versa repeat of that first night.
Yeah. And he says, we're not fucking until we're both stone cold sober. I'm done being the asshole in this situation. And she says, I never thought you were an asshole. And he was like, even when I sicked the lawyers on you, even when I yelled at you in the hotel room, even when I accused you of flirting with Jimmy. And she's like, okay. Other times I thought you were an asshole. Totally. And this is when he tells her that when he found out that Mal took her to his house to save her, He freaked out, destroyed his favorite guitar, and then used that to bash the shit out of Mal's favorite drum kit. And I just need to say out loud, listener, one of the biggest signs of future abuse is property damage.
Yeah, that was hard.
That's terrifying.
Frankly, there are a lot of things in this book that, like, I was joking earlier about, like, I would never date a celebrity kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Evelyn and I are definitely different people. But
Sure.
there are lots of points in this book where if this was my friend, I'd be
God.
like,
You gotta
girl,
go.
you
gotta
need to
run.
get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Like, red flag central.
Yes.
As a fictional romance book, knowing
Great
that they're
stuff.
HEA and they're going to go through the rest of their life happy, it's fine.
I'm fine
Everything's
with
fine.
it.
Yeah.
But in real life, look out for that property
There
damage.
was so funny, though, because at one point, she, like, looks at him, she's like, those songs, they're not about how much I annoy you sometimes, are they? He seesawed his hand in the air. A little. In a good way, though. And she's like, do you actually state what a pain in the ass I am? And he's like, not those words exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want me to lie and say everything's always fucking unicorns and rainbows, do you? And then they keep talking, and he ends up saying, like, just something really beautiful to me, because he says, they're love songs, baby. Love isn't always smooth or straightforward. It can be messy and painful. Doesn't mean it isn't still the most incredible thing that can ever happen to you. And then he says, this was simultaneously awe and also, because he says, doesn't mean I'm not crazy about you. And she's like, you are? I'm crazy about you too. And I was just like, boy, y'all are like, just, let's insta-love this bitch. Yeah, they're like, this
chemistry.
is it. This is it. This is my forever person.
Yeah, once she realized that, like, he's not a surly douchebag all the time, she was like, oh, I'm fine with this. Do you need to kidnap me again? It's fine.
Yeah. So he admits to her, I don't want to sign papers on Monday.
Yep.
And she agrees and says, okay, let's spend time together. Let's see. We did everything backwards, but we're gonna give this a real shot.
Mm-hmm. So now Mal arrives with the other friends, and he's like, you called me and you told me you wrote some songs. I'm here to work on some music. And David's like, well, you're gonna wait a few hours because we were supposed to have all day together, and, like, now you're here and you're crashing our time. And Mal is like, hey, that was my favorite drum kit. That's really fucked up. And David's like, yeah, I mean, I did apologize, so. And he's like, no, I'm going to need a pound of flesh. And David's like, okay, do we need to take this outside? And Mal's like, no, I don't want to mess up my hands. But also, it needs to be something money can't buy.
Mal.
And so he, apropos of fucking nothing, reaches over and mouth mauls Ev. Like, shoves his tongue into her mouth unceremoniously. This is not about her.
Ev is an innocent bystander here.
That's right.
Mal.
Yeah.
This was
not
cool.
okay. And you know what? What is okay is that she almost bites his tongue clear off.
She does. He's bleeding at the end of it.
Yeah,
I was cheering for her. I was like,
Same.
fuck yes, Evelyn.
Same. Like a couple of minutes later, he's like, hey, I'm sorry about doing that. And she's like, okay. And he says, are you going to say sorry for biting me? And she's like, fuck no. Absolutely not.
I loved it so this is a thing. It's like, this was a fun book.
Yes.
It was
absolutely.
so fun.
Yeah.
So we end up having like montagey kind of times.
No. We gotta slow down because they go upstairs and he's like, we are not gonna leave this room until we are on the same page about what we are and what we're doing.
I'm so sorry, listener. I almost just deprived you.
Oh God. So that was a hell. Close call, Sabrina. Okay. Wow. Close call.
How dare I?
So he's like, take off all of your clothes. And she's like, yeah, that sounds incredible. He gets naked, and then he's like, this is going to be a dramatic reenactment of the night we got married. And she's like, oh, okay. And he tells her a bunch of more details. He's like, he gets on the bed, he sits on the bed, and she straddles him, and they're making out. And then he tells her how, she took him back up to her hotel room because she told him that, like, he's out of touch and he needs to see how, like, regular people walk the earth.
Uh-huh.
So they don't go back to his suite at the Bellagio. They go back to her room. And he's like, we were just, like, together, and it was so wonderful. And then he goes down on her, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive that happens now. And this is where we find out they had a few words about how inexperienced she was. And she's like, oh, were you, like, mad about that? And he was like, he says, no, I knew that, like, there had been a long period in between your first time and now. And so you were obviously ready to get back out there. And I didn't want you having sex with anyone but me. The idea of you fucking any dude but me was like, we need to get married instead, basically. Yeah. And so then he's like on top of her. He's about to penetrate her. And he says, Elvis couldn't be here for this. And she's like, what?
This was so funny.
Non sequitur out of what? And he says, yeah, there are some things that I wanted to just keep private in between both of us. And she's like, okay. And as he's, like, rocking into her, he says, do you, Evelyn, Marie, trombone, decide to stay married to me, David, Flurbenzort, Ferris, I think is his last name. And she says yes. And then she says, well, do you say yes as well? And he's like, oh yeah, baby, I say yes. Like, we're totally gonna stay married. And then they have, like, super hot sex and they get remarried, unofficial remarried kind of a situation.
Yes.
They have a stay married ceremony.
I'm glad you remembered that because I had forgotten all about that cute shit because I was so pissed off about what happens next.
Wowza. Yeah. That's where we'll stop for today. We'll be back tomorrow with the rest of this crazy ride. Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by me, Melody Carlisle. Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by the ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. That one small action is a huge way to help the show. If you want to get in touch with us for advertising inquiries or anything else, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on TikTok at Heaving_Bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. See you tomorrow.